Hello and welcome to another episode of Wars Going On. I'm Arcturus and I'm here on the Forerunners server with Sebastian Keynes to bring you the latest in what's going on in Watcher of Realms.
Hey, hello again, everybody. Welcome in. Do remember that we do take input from the community. There are multiple ways that you can reach us more easily. Use the YouTube section uh, in the video here, and also we have Discord, the Dragon Slayers community. We still have the wars going on, thread going in there, and a friend of mine actually got me to start my own Discord, so you can come in and also get in touch with us there. But we do take input also from the comment section, and we try to bring those along here if we do feel like they're adding value to the conversation. So we are going to get started with Forerunner news, and we had a lot of another update, a significant one,
I
one that
wouldn't call it
tells
a
me the
mini
game is not.
update.
I know, I'm sorry. It's a significant one, but it's one that would tell me that the game is not dying. So I think
Yeah,
that's good news, isn't it?
definitely. I mean, there is an awful lot to cover in this update. The developers have packed an awful lot in, and they're trying to make it is exciting for us. They're trying to get the creation community to build up some excitement for this new content, and certainly a new game mode which people are either going to love or they're going to hate. So we'll bring it to you, and you
Exactly.
can make your own judgments.
So before we go to the first one that I listed on our outline, is I'm just wondering right now how they're going to roll these out and what sequence, and then how long is it going to take, because how much stuff they put in front of us here in Forerunners to already tease out, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, are they going to throw everything at everybody at once and overwhelm them, or are they going to kind of piecemeal it and make sure that whatever squabble with Apple is going on is not going to affect the rollout?
Yeah, I think my favorite version is just throw it all at once. They have this like 2 GB update which brings the farm, it brings everything, and
Yeah.
yeah, all the changes at once. The updates to the gearing system, the updates to Lucius and Ingrid, so you can identify where their skills are in their stacks. I think that's the best way to do it. Just throw it all in at once. People
And
will,
let people navigate through it. Eventually they'll get accustomed to it, right? But yeah,
yeah,
there's a lot of
people
stuff that they're throwing.
people want the access to these new these new exclusive gears, and they they've had to wait a long time. They've had to wait since like mid-July, I think, was the last major update on global. So
Yeah.
this is a lot to bring in, and there's no way of ripping off this band-aid. You've kind of got to go all at once, and just accept the fact that it's going to be a lot for people to get into, but the people who are craving content would certainly be satisfied that there was plenty for them to do.
All right. So let's get to the first topic at hand here. We had a hero buff, and I'm wondering if this has to do with the fact that they fixed whatever the summoning units were doing. But Anora got a slight change in her kit.
Yeah, so I haven't actually tried pulling her out now, but it looks like they're changing how the ultimate is working. So previously, the ultimate worked in the standard attack range of sort of the 9 squares plus one, and they've saying it now works in an increased attack range, and they've lowered the cost. Now, Anora sits in the I think just isn't she esotericist as well as the cursed cult? Uh,
That is correct. She has dual
yeah.
designation.
So with a cultist lord, you're looking at that being round the quite low. So you can make an extra 30% off that. Sorry, 25% off that charge time as well. So that's going to be. Oh, and here's the extended range. So there we go. So that's what it now is going to
That
be.
is extend. Yep, you got it. So, I mean, she was already playable as she was. I mean, this just makes her with her cost coming down a little bit, maybe the summons were doing a little bit too much damage. I understand that, but maybe this compensates for it. Or maybe they just wanted to make sure that she popped a little bit more, given how much hype she had when they introduced her into the game.
Now, just looking at this attack range, and if you think about the current AoE arena map, where you've got
Yeah.
you could have Dahlia in the top corner. You could have Anora on the mid platform. And if you can get in early with a Zaris, you could have all sorts of chaos in there because you've got summons and explosions and labor and it's everything. And Zaris's souls. That would be an interesting combination. The biggest challenge would be the cost, but if you could get that out, wow.
Yeah, you would probably have to, you bring in Cyrene, you still make an esotericist team. Maybe they're trying to balance the scale there a little bit with the
Mm.
esotericists versus Ingrid and the Watch Lords and the Watch Guards, excuse me. So I think that they're just, trying to make sure that Arena is playable a little bit more. There are more characters that you can bring in. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know what their analytics were telling them, but if you think it's Arena, I could definitely see that as being one of the reasons why you would want to build a team around that.
Yeah, definitely. Because at the moment, there's like two channels that the enemies walk along. Now, this bar means that for the whole length of that intro area, her and Labor are able to put out the damage across that full extent. Especially if you're running an esotericist lord, that's going to be incredible. That's really going to be
Yep.
game changing.
So, I mean, if I had more time to put into Arena, I'd probably test it. But we have, and at least in our cluster, we have people that like Arena, so they can definitely test her out and see if she's going to become more competent. Maybe like supplant the A3 Comet or something like that.
I mean, the challenge is that A3 Comet is 3 costs cheaper. So that's
Yeah,
always going to.
I mean, and you have to test the damage, right? So then you have to
Yeah.
then think, okay, could she supplant an A3 Comet with the range or do the damage the Comet can do?
Yeah. I
Just little
mean,
things like that. But
it, yeah.
in what we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about the big thing here in a minute. And in if you, given that you need a wide array of characters to get into that game mode, I can see why then they're giving you at least this character to be a little bit more potent if it's in PvP that we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
So I think
so what else is in the patch notes? Do we go into? Do you want to go into the Guild Wars stuff? I haven't
uh,
tested this out actually.
I tried it. It didn't seem to be there. So let me just go into the patch notes and tell you what's there, and then we'll talk about some of the other silliness that's going on in the Forerunner server at the moment, and I imagine will come to you on global at some point in the near future. So GvG, I can't actually see it anymore. Um,
So they said
they
that they had a feature that they were going to
Here
make
we
the
go.
defensive battles. Um,
The
we could
rewatch
watch the
function for
replays.
GvG replays has improved the replay from the loading screens. If they've implemented that, they haven't implemented it in this week, as far as I can tell. I've
So it
watched a
probably
couple
needs
of
to reset.
replays. I've
Yeah, exactly.
I've watched a couple of replays so far, and there is no obvious replay button if you're going into the tower level. Maybe if you're accessing it from a different location, such as the all allies replays area, because you get different interactions sometimes, because obviously you can share from those and you can't necessarily share from the towers. So it might be something like that. Another one that we just glossed over entirely is base storage for gear increases. Now that is massive
Yeah,
considering they've
we were
introduced.
gonna. Yeah, we have that on the list. Yeah, we
Yeah,
can go ahead and do that. We'll figure out the replay thing. Maybe we do need the week to refresh or the new
Yeah.
battle to start for it to be applied. So we'll wait that if we think it's a significant feature, we'll bring it up next week. But yeah, I don't see any changes in that right now. The buttons still where the buttons are laid out. I tried doing a replay; it didn't look like there was a reset, but
No.
you could watch it. So yeah, let's just
Yeah.
wait to see if there's something in the background that needs to reset before we go. But yeah, let's go ahead. I mean, the gear storage thing, we kind of expected this given that they were adding all this exclusive gear, but it is a significant jump. I'm up to
Yeah.
1600, it looks here in my Forerunner account, but the top is 1700, I think it was with the
1700.
summer
I think
capsules.
I've capped out on gear storage actually. So let me just jump across. So gear, yeah, 1700. So there we go. It's a lot of gear. I really need to do a gear cleanse at some point, but it does make life a hell of a lot easier when you've got that much overhead.
Yeah. And well, and then all this new gear coming in, and we're going to imagine that there'll be even more exclusives coming down the pipeline. So we are
Yeah.
going to need the room. But eventually, people are going to have to, I think, get accustomed to the idea of having these T3 sets laying around. So maybe your junk T1, T2, you might need to start getting rid of those. I started looking at my account right now. It's like some pieces I hold out in hopes that maybe I get enough hammers to recast them, but at
Yeah.
some point I'm gonna have to start limiting myself that to realize we don't get that many hammers to begin with. So be very
Yeah.
picky about the gear that you keep and don't get to that 1700 threshold too
Yeah.
freaking quickly.
Yeah, no, I mean 300. You could see I had about 300 left, but that's one very long farming session on an upper stage, especially when there's tireless raider on. Yeah, you'll fill that up in no time.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Uh, the other thing that I have here is that I'm gonna say it's a redefining rework of the daily quests. And I in the video that I did covering this Arturos, because they did get rid of one, they
Yeah.
did not replace it, right? They just got
Mm.
rid of one, they reworked another one, so you don't spend as much stamina. But we're down to 11 from out of county now.
Yeah.
So if you want to complete the daily quest now, and get those 35 diamonds. And then on top of that, you're building that reward system. So the more that you complete it, eventually down the line, you get that extra spicy reward. I got like rare crystals and diamonds. It was like 300 diamonds, if I remember correctly. But now you're going to have a decision to make to complete that 10th. Is it going to be do that one battle in arena or do that one summon? Because for me, those were the two typical ones that were left behind all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think this week is not a good week for me. Always ending in single target arena is always a tough week for me, and it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's. I think I'm just going to make the decision just to bin off arena and focus on Gear Dungeon 2 for the remainder of the week and see if I can get some materials in.
So, but
Mm.
to make sure that people do know what's coming, so let's make sure that we get the wording here correctly in terms of what they changed for these quests. So
Yeah,
one is that remove the quest successfully enhanced gear 3 times. Maybe people were finding it annoying, so that's gone.
yeah,
No more gold to spend. And then the other one is they said that they adjusted the quest, obtained 3 pieces of gear from Grid to now just you just need to do that one run.
yeah,
So get it out of the way, and now you get that. But like we said, they did remove one, so now we only have 11. So we need to still do 10 of the 11, but we only have 11 as the option. I think that part of this is that they're really trying to drive PvP. They're trying to get people to at least do arena once or twice a week or a day.
yeah.
So
I think so. I I think as it's either something you've got the meta heroes and you don't mind taking the challenge, or it's going to be a slog. And there is no kind of middle ground. And there are now so many strong Valderons out there and Praetor teams out there that and Ingrid's as well in random locations. That it's a very difficult place to enter and make a lot of headway. So I know a lot of people are very much like, arena is just a waste of my time, and I know you're not a huge fan.
I'm not. No, you know how I feel about it. I wish that there would be a lot of the stuff. Again, we're gonna cover it here, but the idea that they had for real time arena and implementing some of these new like battle skills and stuff like that, that's what I would have wished that they would have revamped classic arena first, and then apply some of the stuff that they did for real time. So, but we'll cover that in a minute. Let's keep
Yeah,
going with the rest of the patch notes. The one that it says here that says add in mail notifications for when a member's defense position is changed in Guild War.
yeah, we'll see
Are we
that
gonna be
next week.
yeah, we're gonna get bombarded with like 30 emails or mail notifications saying every one of my guildmates changed defenses. Is that what's gonna happen?
No, I think it's more. Uh, I think it's more when someone's tower is moved. So if the guild leader moves somebody's
Oh,
tower, that
defense
person
position. Okay, good.
doesn't necessarily know that their position has changed. So this is a way of
Yeah.
saying, actually, the guild leader has moved you to from position A to position B. I think that's what it's going to be, and we'll see
Okay.
that next week because I think there's a few people we need to cycle around. So
Yeah. So okay, so we'll definitely that actually kind of helps, especially notifying people if they get moved into the central keep because they need to re-gear their team or do something to it.
yeah.
Okay, that's good. And instead of us having to hassle people, it's telling them we had to move you or something like that, right? So, all right, then we'll leave that one for later. The unpolished legendary soulstone, and then the last one is the exclusive artifact for Lady Alexandra. I should have checked this before we started taping. Did you go and look for it in the exclusive gear forge?
Just one second. I'll dive over to the forge and we'll look at it together. So here we are in the exclusive forge. We'll just open this up and here we are. It's the top one here. So Divine Justice increases the damage by 15% and the seal of retribution and penetrating vision can now inflict mark of anonymity on one more target. Now the mark of anonymity is the part which allows her to target a unit anywhere on the map. So that's going to be a really powerful thing for her to have.
Right. So as we level this thing up, do we think that the damage increases then by 5% each time or 2.5? I'm gonna
Uh,
guess it's
I
5%.
I'm imagining it's going to be like your soul siphoning. So it'll scale to 30% would be my imagining
30%.
there.
Do speaking Moonton, do we think that target number changes? Or does it stay at one?
No, I think that'll stay at one
Stay at one.
because
Okay, we'll
it's
figure it out.
already it's an incredibly powerful artifact as it is. I
Yep.
do know of one in DS3, one Lady Alexandra in DS3. So they are starting to appear more. Let's just bring her up.
That's a lot of arena. Holy crap. It's just some I kudos to you all that go get that go get that legendary.
Correction. Mark of anonymity reduces the damage dealt to the caster and increases the damage received by 15%. Okay, I need to read her kit more carefully.
Okay.
And mark of anonymity can be inflicted on the farthest target and will continue to target them. So yeah, it is the thing that allows her to target out of range.
Right. Okay. Sounds good then. So
Yeah,
hopefully stays at one. So it'll be two that she will get to mark if
yeah,
people are lucky enough to get that exclusive into their accounts. Right.
definitely.
Let's go to uh yeah, main topic number one, real time arena. Finally is here
You
in
don't
Watcher
want to cover.
Realms.
You don't want to cover memory games and fishing. I'm disappointed.
Ah, okay. All right.
So
They're
Moonton is
easy
clearly
rewards to collect.
having, yeah, Moonton's clearly having a bit of a silly season at the moment, and they're looking for ways to get people some extra resources. So one of them is a memory matching game. So you come in, you click the cards, you flip them over, and you match them up, and you get a load of rewards from doing this. It's nice and straightforward, and you can find yeah, you come in here, you do this, you get your rewards, and you complete it in the time.
You only have so
Yeah,
many attempts. It gets harder, right? So, but
it
either way,
does.
if you do it, you get the rewards in the shop or whatever the quest guideline quests are to.
Yeah, so there's
You
a
get
load of
some
quests.
rewards for it.
The hardest is completing the nightmare challenge in under 18 attempts in under 60 seconds. That took a lot of RNG to get them to get like first time matches and a bit of luck to make sure that you memorized where things were. So it's working. It's a bit of fun. It's a bit of chat. It's a bit of entertainment, but it's maybe 45 minutes of entertainment. The most annoying thing about it was that they rolled it out over 3 days. During day two, they introduced a bonus feature which had things like extra time nodules and auto finding matches and showing off where pairs were to make it easier for you. And then when you get to the challenge mode, they don't have any of those things.
Right. They took those little, yeah, the
Yeah,
hourglass and the chain links and all that stuff. And Captain Reeve goes fishing too.
Captain Reeve
Did you
goes
complete
fishing.
those?
I did, yeah. So this little fishing mini game, I don't actually have any fish left, unfortunately. I thought I had 11, but apparently I only had 10. So what you do, it's one of these standard things where you click a button, he throws out the line, and a little icon moves across the bottom of the screen. And then you click it when you click go when it's in the gold bar. You do that 3 times, and then you'll start pulling out fish. You will there's like 7 fish to collect. Well, one is junk, but then you go from koi all the way up to these phantom of jongula. And once you get the phantom of jongula, you get to unlock a little emoji, which is a shamir looking all smiley. There is a leaderboard, and I don't know if the people who are assigned these titles will be able to display them in their profiles, because it's really random, because the top level
Mhm.
is 26 meters, and it's
And
basically
that's it.
who, yeah, and yeah. So the top 10 get Old Man of the Sea, and then the top 3 get Champion, Hook Hero, and Real Deal. But that's it.
So
And
essentially, what it was is that person that is at the top of the 26. He was just the lucky the player that was the lucky enough to get the 26 and be the first
first,
time to do it, just like you do
yeah,
tied, right? Yeah, exactly what it was. So
yeah.
mine was only 25.2, so I'm not going to be in that leaderboard.
No, yours is longer than mine, so I think mine's
Yeah,
24 point.
well, so yeah, so there'll be like a little bar. I imagine that this is going to come to global too, just so people are extra entertained. And we did not get Lust in Forerunners. Gwendolyn came in early. I thought that she was going to be just the Christmas hero, but apparently no. They
Yeah,
decided, no, we're going to give you Gwendolyn this, not Lust.
no.
You guys might get Lust later, but I think that the whole fiasco with the global server, I think, just accelerated the last banner.
Yeah, I know it's one that people have been looking for a while. Obviously, it had been hinted at in the game files by the leaker crew some time ago, and people that it was coming, and then it wasn't coming, and then the whole Apple update fiasco took place, and it got postponed, and now they've managed to get the mini update, and so yeah, so we on Forerunners got the Christmas banner. Now, technically, this isn't the first time that we've had an early Christmas banner. So about a year in year one, around this time, we got Trusk and Boreas for the first time. Maybe a month later than this, but we got a Christmas banner, and so this time we've got Gwendolyn. So
And just so some people realize how RNG can be cruel, and some of the epics rates really do need to change, I think. I've been in Forerunners now for 18 months, and I finally was able to get a copy of Estrid in my account. That's how long it took. It took 18 months to get Estrid in the account. So now I get to play around with her a little bit, but yeah, that took a long time to get that one epic.
she's an incredible epic, and I'm sure if we got Win back to do another spotlight, he could talk for an hour on Estrid without breaking a sweat. She's a really
Yeah,
versatile hero. Her ability to apply defense down just means that she can absolutely wreck.
yep. All right, so now are we ready to discuss real time arena?
Oh, if we have to. Come on, right, let's talk about real time
If we
arena.
have to. Hey, listen, it's not very often people are going to get to talk to get me to talk about arena. So let's at least with real time here we can kind of cover the basics and what we like, what we don't like, what I think needs to change. So before this recording, I did a 1 hour stream just to kind of show people how things were going and just trying to get a general sense of how this is going to work. But um, it's going to be demanding. It's going to require you to have a good roster and have enough gear. So let's start there in
Yeah.
the team compositions and how we have to set things up when we start this.
Yeah, so you've got to have an AoE team, sorry, an anti-air team set, you need an AoE team set, and you need a single target arena team set. So on top of that, you'll see that what you can't duplicate heroes between teams. So you can't have your Hatset jumping into your AoE arena team. You can't have your your Praetus in your single target arena teams. So it's very much forcing us back into the sort of the Moonton view of how to play arena. And there are reasons for that, and we'll jump into the some of the restrictions which come into the game as well. But you'll also notice on the left-hand side here that there is a series of extra icons. These are the commander skills. And halfway down the left-hand side during your battle, you will have a little timer going from 1 to 3 due to showing the strength of these icons. And we can, and at some point during the battle, you can click on them and you'll get to choose what they do. So if you just jump onto the commander skill here. So here there are currently 4 in the game. There's Punitive Strikes, which deals true 20% max HP to all enemy heroes, and upgrades by 1 level every 30 seconds, with each level dealing an extra 20% true damage equal to level 3. So if your opponent happens to be running a chaotic team and they're doing lots and lots of damage and they don't have their healer deployed, this could be really effective at killing them off.
Yep, you got it.
Um, Binding shackles, this slows down their attack rate. Um, I'm assuming. Well,
Yeah, no, that was evident when I was doing it. You could tell because there's like there's like an aura that appears around them, and you can just at least the animation you can kind of see them s- slow down a little bit. And so, yeah, you are kind of reducing the damage that the enemies are taking.
yeah. So this says 30% damage per stack. Wow. So that's actually really,
Yep,
really powerful. If you're getting 3 stacks of that onto the enemies, 90% damage reduction on the enemies, and it can't be
yep.
dispelled. Wow.
So this one was used against me in AoE Arena. So I think that that's one place where they're thinking that if you minimize the ability of the enemies to do the damage, then you know you wouldn't be able to clear the waves as fast. So then they'll get to the core and
Yeah.
overwhelm the core. But this one I saw as a favorite there. I also saw it. The anti-air was one that people were picking this one for again also. But
Yeah.
like you said, at least from my matches in single target, I saw a lot of the punitive strike. But I don't think that people realize that after you do so many matches, you unlock the next two.
Mm.
And for me, I use the stun to my advantage, and I think that that is the best one so far that
Oh,
I have had
brilliant.
a chance to
Reduces their
test.
block to 0. So actually, it doesn't matter how
Yes.
strong they are if they're unconscious and the enemies are just walking straight through them.
Yeah. So if you didn't bring a clip showing that, go to the one on my channel for with the stream. It's at the latter end. When I used the stun, everybody just went through. And it was hilarious to see because they weren't doing any damage and the enemies were just walking by, no problem. So I don't think that that person was prepared for it, but yeah,
Yeah.
that one is my favorite so far. The colossal stun.
Interesting. Inflicts sleep on all enemy heroes for 5 seconds, but if they take damage, the effect is ended. But that's kind
Yes,
of
so this one
useless.
that's my least favorite one right now because in AoE Arena, you're going to get hit if the enemies explode. So you get
Yeah.
damage. It's splash damage. In anti-air, God, those octopus hit hard in anti-air there. You're going to get hit. So I'm wondering if this one you're gonna have to use uh in between the waves coming out. But one of the things that I want to see as well, and I don't know if there was a bar there for us to check. I think that this would become better if there would not be like a chance to regenerate your ultimate to garner rage while you're
Mm.
asleep. But as it stands right now, this one is my least favorite one, and what I would think less effective to bring into the battle. So we'll see what the analytics say on their end, but I would rather go with the stun over the sleep.
Yeah, I think just reading the description of that one, it's really, really weak. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it has to have something else, like inability to rage, inability to something else. Maybe I don't know, last longer. It's just yeah,
the
no,
stun
you're
is
gonna
just
take
so much
damage either
better.
way. Yeah, the stun is a lot better. Correct. Especially with the fact that you completely lose any block at all.
Mm. Okay, so yeah, you can equip a commander skill, allows you to counter the opponent's potential lineup better.
Yep.
No one is better, each has
And
its own use cases. Yeah, true.
and it doesn't restrict you how many times you can use it. So if you wanted to go with the stun on all three, you can use it on all three. Maybe they need to change that. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe one gets abused too much, but I would imagine that the other two, the top two, do have applicability. So I guess it all depends on the player's preference what they want to use. But I like the stun for single target. That's my favorite one so far.
So one thing you can see here on this team selection page is the fact that when a unit is selected, they then gain an icon saying that that unit is selected and they
Right.
cannot be deployed in another battle team. So that's
Yep.
quite a nice way of restricting it. So and it's quite visible and obvious as well. So it's really good user interface and usability there for everybody. So I like that. It's really
Oh,
nice.
and some people are gonna ask if dupes. No, no, don't build a dupe. It's not gonna help because once you select that hero, it'll lock out the dupes. So you're not gonna have that option.
Yeah. Um, so I think I might just go back to the patch notes to talk through some of the components before we look at the videos that I've got from War Guides. War Guides very kindly offered to use my account to have a play because, unfortunately, one of the things about the real-time arena is that it's only available for about 2 hours after reset and about
Yeah,
2 hours in sort of like early evening, and unfortunately they're like the most
you,
inconvenient times for me, so I've not actually had a
yeah,
chance to really play.
you can show that. Go back to the real time arena screen. There is where the match would be, the icon to match. Yeah, click the eye. It says right there. So this is UTC -8. So if you're in the
Yeah,
States, 000 is 4 o'clock in the morning EDT, and 10 is 2 o'clock PM EDT. So those are the only two windows, and there's only open for 2 hours. Now, if you're in global looking at this, don't freak out yet. This is in Forerunners. We're testing things out. You never know, they might open another window when this rolls out in global. So, but for now, it's kind of restricted to 2 hour windows.
yeah, and
And
it
also, note, top left of Arturo's screen, it's limited in terms of the time right now. So we have a 10-day window that we get to try this out. We do not know if this is going to change, and eventually if it's just going to be a 15-day window or it's going to be open all the time. There's a lot of questions here that we need to ascertain as to how exactly this is going to be laid out.
yeah, so let's just go back to the patch notes because there are some important things to talk about in terms of how the battles are going to work. So here we go. Two players are matched in a real-time live battles arena. Similar to Arena, the Honor Gauntlet comes in three types of challenges. When they're matched, they're randomly chosen which one of the challenges you get to. So you can't say, I've got a brilliant arena team, I've got a brilliant AoE team, and I just want to do the AoE one. You can't just do that. It doesn't let you. You can't go into a match until you've set three teams.
Right. And you have to have all 18 heroes gear separately. So you cannot put your Soulstone Arcana set on pretty say that's my favorite. I'm gonna put it there and then set the lineup and then go and try to set the other line and switch gears. It won't work like that because then you just bring in a naked's prettiest. So this is why this is not accessible until everybody clears the 18s in gear raid 1, 2, and 3 because they want to make sure that you have enough gear to equip 18 heroes.
Yeah, you are going to need that versatility in your roster because this is a challenge. From what I've seen of it, it's
Yeah.
definitely something which you're going to take you to. If you want to get into it and you want to like have fun in those in the sessions when it's open, yeah, you just gonna have to get in there, put all your best gear from wherever it may be onto those 18 heroes, because we still don't have arena gear lock. Devs, honestly, you offered it to global in the big
It's
update,
time.
and it's still not come to Forerunner. You've now introduced a new game mode, which is even more demanding on gear. We need arena
Mhm.
gear lock.
I completely agree with you. It's time. It's been too long. It's time to put it in.
Yeah. I thought there were some more notes about how it was going to work. That might have been in the Discord patch notes. But basically, they've come up with a strategy to stop the arena cheating. So I'm just going to pull up the videos from War Guides and we'll be able to
Oh,
see how.
if you're talking about that invisibility that the enemies do not take damage as soon as they
Yeah.
come out, or the fact that the in single target, I think it is that the demons get extra health defense
So you're supposed to lose
in.
health. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah, all those little tidbits like that that I did not see anywhere in the game. Those were leaks.
I. Hmm.
I didn't see them in the patch notes.
They're not in the global patch notes. I think they're in the Discord patch notes.
Okay, let me. I can check while you keep you keep showing everybody what else there is, and
Yeah.
especially if you have clips, I'll check. But I do not. I thought I saw that on the leaks. So I can start with anti-air. Is a battlefield effect is starting round 5. All monsters gain invisibility and become untargetable for 7 seconds. So if you decided to deploy a strategy to go up right up top, they might get past you. So that's something that you're going to have to contend with. AoE DPS challenge is a battlefield effect starting from round 5. All monsters gain invincibility upon taking damage for the first time, becoming immune to all damage for 4 seconds. Again, that's all in regards to the AoE. In single target, like you said, yes, actually, you're starting to take true damage equal to 4% of your max HP per second.
That's quite substantial.
Yeah, so essentially, what it's doing is it's going to speed things up once you get to round 5. And if you, based on your strategy early on, it will depend if you're going to be able to sustain the later rounds.
So there are currently a lot of chaos teams in single target arena where you have an Ardia in the top corner, you have a Lugaru in front of her, and then you have Valderon just wailing on absolutely everybody. And they don't even bring a healer. It's just a cost generator, and then they just bring out all of these units as fast as they can, and it's game over because it's just such a powerful combination. And this is basically
Right.
saying get to round 5 and you don't have a healer in that team. Bye bye, because half your team are just going to disappear because Ardia would have no health by that point. Lugaru would probably be ready to collapse. And Valderon would only be able to support so many enemies before they just walked past him with that many people coming in.
So one strategy that I saw with AoE Arena that was a favorite one is putting Cyrus right up top right away, even in real time. So if you get to round 5, I think you might have to consider about withdrawing him round 3, round 4, so he's ready for you to bring him down. I think that that's what they were trying to do here, is to make sure that people didn't pile things on top right away. So now you enter round 5, you get invincibility, or you gain more health, or you start getting more damage. Then you have to, your team might fall apart because of those conditions. So it's going to be a balance. Are we gonna build on top, on the bottom, or right in the middle and the straight when things are coming down? We should see. I didn't think I made it past round 4, to be honest, in
Yeah.
any of my matches.
Okay, so this is the first battle that I've got here. I think it's the first battle that War Guides was experiencing in single target arena. So he's got a team pulled together. He's got a healer. He's got me a full nightmare team, and he's up against Valderon in a sort of a chaos nightmare team, which
Okay.
wasn't running a healer. So here's the map. Obviously, you can see it's a bit different. The pale squares are where you can deploy. And yeah, so it's first up, it's you've got this, here you go, the commander skill building up on this stack here. Obviously, Valderon being Valderon, just wailing away. So they've got level 1 there, and the next unit's coming in. So yeah, it's building up slowly. This is just so they've introduced some new units as well. So if you see here, you might see these guys in the Nightmare Faction Trials. So these guys, and that's the enemy using his attack. So did you see the silver sword drop down on my units?
Yep. Oh, you mean the opponent uses commander
Yeah, the
skill?
opponent used his commander skill, and there
Yep.
was the silver sword drop down on my guys.
So one thing that the developers did is to make at least in this one, is that they made sure that every enemy did some type of damage. and
Yeah.
some of them are hitting really hard.
Yeah, these reflection units were in the Nightmare faction trials are a pain, and they're only going to get worse in these stages.
So did War Guides go past round 4, getting into round
So here we
5?
go into
Because he
round
is
5. So here
there.
it
It
starts to
is.
come
Yep.
in. So it's this
Yep.
sort of sandstorm effect that comes across the battlefield.
Everybody's getting through damage
Yeah.
per second. So yeah. So
And it just came
either your
at the
healers.
end, even though all of my units had died, it came down to the fact that I was able to died first because there was a bigger health pool.
Yeah.
The opponent lost just because they were weaker and the opponent actually quit, so the match terminated.
I can see him in the background. Yay! I got it.
Yeah, it's a half-hearted cheer because he knows it was this the other guy quitting. So this was an anti-air arena match. I think he gets in several rounds in it, and again, you've got to make sure you're bringing the healer in and not leaving it too late because the enemy has this sword skill, and that can just again take out units who like to sustain at low health. I think it's going to be bad for Sargak because he loves to be at such low health, and as soon as the enemy drops that skill, then he's just gone. He's not going to be able to survive.
Yeah, I learned the hard way that how hard they hit. Number one, and number two. Initially, I didn't bring a healer that could cover that far up. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm gonna have to change my lineup for it. This one,
You're going to need a star piece of
but
healer.
yes. The other thing that threw me off with, I don't know if War Guides Encounter, is that it had me going on the right side, and I was like, why isn't it placing on the left? Oh, he put me on the right. So
Yeah,
yeah, so make
in the
sure.
next battle, it's you see that. So
Yeah, so make sure that when the battle starts, look for your screen name. Make sure that you're trying to place it on the right spot.
there is also a slightly bluish tint on the side that you are on, and a slightly reddish
Yeah.
tint on the side that the enemy is
Okay.
on. So that is
Yeah,
your
I missed that.
key indicator.
Okay,
So again,
so the opponent here is just struggling.
yeah, the opponent
Or
just gave up again just because
yeah,
they were going to die and they were taking damage. Uh, that was the air arena. I think this looks to be single target again. This is the AoE. This is AoE, and we've switched
yeah.
sides on this one. So you can see there's a bluish outline on this side of the map, and there's my name. So I haven't actually watched this one. I was just basically going through his hour-long stream, just trying to find examples of the 3 different match types. So we just speed through this.
Yeah, I was fortunate
Mm,
enough to get a good variety to my 1 hour of trying this, and I did get to experience every map. I know that there was one of our guildmates that said that he got entire like 4 times in a row, and he just gave up on
yeah,
it. But at least I had good RNG where it mixed me up pretty well. And then there was
yeah.
somebody else that had the tinfoil hat on because he said,
Mm.
my more powerful unit never got used. They were also getting avoided. And I was like, oh, okay, what? We'll
Good,
have to see that.
good to see that Ingrid could still work. So I'm happy anyway. Other people
Oh,
might not be.
yeah, you know it.
I mean, you can have Ingrid at the
So
top and Dahlia, and then Dahlia at the bottom, or Dahlia at the bottom, top, and Ingrid at the bottom. Just completely locking that space. Actually, Dahlia would probably be really good here. In fact, probably possibly better than Ingrid because she's slowing
that's
people
who
down coming down that corridor.
that's who I used, and just to slow things down and make sure I gave Dahlia enough time, I put I up there to slow
Hmm.
things down and just have Dahlia blow things up or with her flowers.
Yeah. So those are what the three maps are look like. There's examples of team compositions. He did in the examples I've used. He didn't use the leader skills very much. He was very much more focused on learning the map and learning the experiences. But yeah, he's got a stream. I'll put a link to it down below in the description, and I'll put a link to Sebastian's as well, and you can watch those and learn a bit more about Real Time Arena.
Yep. And so far I think we kind of did the good, the bad, and the ugly on that, right? There's still some kinks that I need to be worked out. They did add conditions that you're gonna have to meet later on in the battle to make sure that you're not piling things up front like we do in classic arena. And the captain skills, think the one that's with the sleep will need a little bit of a rework just to make it a little bit more effective. Because as it stands right now, I don't think it's going to be picked as often as the other three.
No. Okay, so going back to the plan, that was kind of it for sort of what's going on in Watcher of Realms. Now, our topic for today, and kind of linked to what's come into the patch notes, is the fact that we now have in the rewards for Nightmare 3 top chest and Nightmare 4 the Nightmare 4 from the fine chest up. So from the first chest in Nightmare 4, sorry, second chest in Nightmare 4. So you're getting 6,500 damage on Nightmare 4. You have a chance to get a Unpolished Soulstone. So this is Unpolished Legendary Soulstone. So that's what it looks like in comparison to its bigger brother, which is the Legendary Soulstone. And the restriction on the unpolished one is that it can only be used on non-lord heroes. And that's kind of sparks an interesting debate. If you got one, who would you use it on? Because we all have an idea, and it's you see chat light up as soon as someone gets one about who to use it on. So it's what we thought we'd have a bit of a discussion around which heroes we think you could use an unpolished soulstone on, who you should focus on, and who you would focus keeping your legendary soulstones for your lords, because that's who you're going to be keeping those for now.
Yeah, exactly. That's the two things that I would say if anybody in the global server is watching this is number one, you will have something out that is just going to be for your Lord heroes, especially the engine exclusive ones that are going to be really hard to get in your accounts. And I would save them. So right now, any discussion about who I should use my legendary, unless it's a Lord that will help you push content, just keep them for now. And then the polished ones are the ones that you're going to use for the heroes that we can get in the common bucket. Through more specifically the ones that you get through the rare crystals or your divines, or even in some situations here because I did Arcturus and I decided to make a list of where we would use them. I do have one that is an ancient exclusive that I would think would garner use of the unpolished soulstone.
Yeah.
All right. So how do
So
you want to do this? Do you want me to give you my list, or you want to go from the bottom to the top, each one of us, or how do you want to
if
do it?
if you dive in, I'll try and navigate to the hero and pull up the awakening, and we can have a brief chat about what that is.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with the unpolished soulstone here,
Sure.
and let me make sure because I brought it down. Okay, so at least I was thinking, should I place this in an order? And I said, okay, maybe I will, just to make sure. But one of the ones that I had listed, at least for the unpolished, is because he will help you in terms of pushing content, and especially if you're doing guild bosses, you this is where we more commonly use them. And so for my fifth one, I have Hex going to A3 or to A5. But again, this all depends on how often they'll drop, how many copies of Hex you get, etc., etc. If you're a spender, non-spender, these are all things that we're gonna have to bring into mind when you investing these unpolished soulstones.
Yeah, so Hex, this, as you can see above me, this is a really, really great one. These is in during the effect of his ultimate, performing a basic attack against targets inflicted with burning extends the duration of it by 1 second up to a maximum of 30 seconds. This used to be uncapped, and then they realized quite how broken that was, especially with the introduction of his artifact. So they've capped it now, so it's capped at 30 seconds. But yeah, it's a really, really powerful effect. So you can now inflict true damage with these maximum things with every single strike from his thing, and he does it. Yeah, and he's doing it more effectively, and he's extending it every time he does it. So
Number
and
4 for me was Lost going to A5.
lost to
I'm
A5.
not a Lost to A5 because you do get more slashes out of her if you are able to get there. Now, somebody might ask about her A1 with the defense reduction, and it is a powerful debuff to have, but most of the time you are going to bring in a lord like Torador with her, and Torador applies defense down. Now, if you just wanted to be more consistently applied, okay, you can probably do it. But I think that those of us that have been playing the game the longest, uh, now should have 2 copies of her if we were able to do both limited banners.
Hmm.
And I, I don't know how many will have A1 lost. It all depends on your account. This is where you're gonna have to make the decision. But if you have it and you're already at A4, push her to A5, get that extra slashes, and you'll rev up more damage from all the other Nightmare Console uh, team members that are with her.
Yeah, and that is absolutely true. Because I mean, she's hitting out when she's doing her ultimate and she's slapping everyone. The effect that she can is hitting the enemy up to 6 times massively increases her attack potential. So she's hitting the enemy for 120 times 6 as opposed to 120 times 4. So she's going to be really slashing out at the enemy. And every time she's waving around her whip, she's has the chance to boost her allies' damage as well. So yeah, really, really clever. Really, really good one for her.
The other one that I have on my list is Arrogance being pushed to A3, A5 if you've been lucky enough to summon the unit or the multiple copies of him. And if you are progressing and you want to start doing a little bit more damage, maybe the A1 comes into play as well. But this is one hero that I would say if you want to push him into the next awakening settings, 135, I wouldn't. I mean, he's hard to summon as it is. That I wouldn't mind investing some of those unpolished soulstones. But again, it's all account specific. Do you
Yeah,
spend? Do you just do free to play, etc., etc.?
I know that a lot of people don't rate his A1 at all because it's just like, oh, it's just healing. It's like, yeah, but healing on a ranged fighter and he's someone with good burst damage potential, it means you can stick him out on his own and he can look after himself. And that is a brilliant thing for a fighter to know that you don't have to worry about healing them, especially in campaign. You just put them up in a corner, they'll handle everything by themselves. If he's able to keep himself topped up with help, all the better, because it just takes the pressure off other areas of the map. So I think it's really good one, especially in campaign. And I definitely use him in Void Rift, just tucked up a corner, handling everything on the Calypso stage of the Araka map, where the enemies are coming in from the top and there's the fish. So yeah, I stick him on one of those platforms in front of the bridges, and he's able to take out everything on one corner. And he's getting hit by the fish, but
Yes.
at the same time, he's healing himself from beating people up. So all good.
And as you're progressing through, especially like Drake's Chasm, and you start getting into 3-4, you're trying to sustain to get the shields. And if you cannot yet get your healer to do the attack speed that you need to be able to get everybody healed efficiently, it's not a bad idea to have him heal and then somebody else can get healed instead of him. And then you can survive, prolong the battle, get as much damage as you can. So Arrogance is one that I would say I would not mind investing to go to 1, 3, or 5.
Yeah.
And the same principle is going to apply for me, Silas, because each one of these awakenings adds a new dimension to him. And the quicker you can get to A5, the better.
Yeah, he's such a beautifully put together kit. Every stack of his skill set. So you have his bond skill, which allows his snow cycling to do 100% extra damage during his ultimate. You have his awakening, which increases attack speed by 100 during his ultimate. You've got the his A3, which means that he gets the bonus when other marksmen are on the pitch. And he's included in the two marksmen. So when there are more than two marksmen on the field, they've reworded this. So yeah, you get him on the pitch with another marksman, and that counts, and it's brilliant. So you can boost an ally by 15% damage. And finally, this Eye of Curse, which is one of the big glowy orb that he summons, and you can do extra damage to the enemies with Eye of Curse. Excellent. So really, really effective.
And then lastly for me, because now that we have the unpolished stone, this now opens it up. There's no discussion for me because now I feel comfortable enough investing these soulstones in Ardia. Because Ardia is already a powerful hero as it is. She's an exclusive. You're not going to get multiple copies of her if you don't spend. And if you can get her A1, A3, A5, you just going to get more damage out of her.
Yeah, and she's definitely a hero I'm hunting for on my account. Ardea is and Carnelian are sort of the two chaotic units I'd really like to add to my account just to slot into every team because they are very versatile. And building her up would be really, really good. So that's a really good one. So this is a her A1 with the defense reduction. During the frenzy, extends the duration of the frenzy. Good but bad because obviously the more she's in the frenzy, the more she's lowering her health. So that can make her vulnerable, especially in real time arena.
Real time, yep.
And after the circular blade returns, immediately regenerates 15 range. 15 range is not a huge amount. It's what's her rage cap? But she's got quite a low rage cap anyway. So 600 rage cap.
Yep.
15 rage. That I think that's possibly wins a prize for potentially the worst one, the worst A5
of the
in the game.
of the three, correct? Yeah. So you could make an argument for that, yeah. But at least A1, A3, yeah, I would not mind investing in her, and then not have to use it on a lore. I think that just helps accelerate that decision. Is there any hero there that you have on your list that I did not cover?
I had Silas A3 on my list. I jumped into one who I found incredibly useful is Valkyra's A1, especially because it increases her basic attack range by 1. And that becomes really, really useful, especially in the gear dungeons, where she's trying to manage. You can have a solo the top section of the map, and if you've got that extra range, then you're able to do that extra bit more damage to manage that, and it's a lot easier to deal with.
So this is the kind of cases that you have to then analyze your account, because let's say you have Valkyra but you don't have Silas, and then and just like, are you gonna wait around to clear content for waiting for a Silas, or do you just want to go ahead and use your Valkyra, get her that awakening, get that extra range, and start clearing content, and maybe get you the ability to get more resources into your account? So this is all, again, my perspective is these are the heroes that I would not question, but always take a look at your account and ask yourself, would this help me push content?
Yeah. Another one who's on my list that you didn't mention was Nyx A3. Now, Nyx is a hero who's gone through a checkered levels of favor with the community, and she's currently like running pretty high. And part of that is down to the flexibility of this A3 in the air arena. because as soon as she's inflicting damage, killing enemies in the arena, then she's building up her race stack, and her AoE is so effective that she can take out hordes of enemies, and then she's almost straight back up into her ultimate. She's just a real demon to contend with. And then it's pushing you towards that A5 where you've got the opportunity to do extra damage, extra blast damage again. So yeah, it's a really, really good one. It's one I definitely wish I had in my account.
I
Next up,
completely agree with you. Yeah, if you're a fan of Arena, yeah, then yeah, you go with Nyx. I will not, not quite. I'm not questioning that
yeah.
decision.
The next one I had was Vienna's A3 actually. Sticking with the
Oh,
Bond.
the Murder Kiss. Yeah.
Yeah. So just again thinking about the exclusive gear which has just come in. So you kill an enemy with Mortal Kiss with her ultimate, and it inflicts 120% magic damage to your enemies all around it. So you're doing 900% damage. These guys are in low health. You're then dealing an extra 120% magic damage to them. If you're then able to get either her exclusive, which is boosting that damage on top by 100% and increasing the execution threshold, the chance of anything walking out of this range is now rapidly crashing towards zero. It's going to be absolutely vicious if you get that. And you've got the Cursed Cult gear as well. She'd be absolutely
Yep.
devastating. It'd be such chaos. It would be great to unleash. Okay, so that was that one. Silas A3. One that you didn't mention, and I did actually manage to pull
Mirror.
it today. Uh, I'm going to talk about some which really you shouldn't have to use unpolished soulstones on at all, and they should be built into the basic kit because otherwise they're currently heroes which are currently unplayable. Hats at A1. Hats at
Yeah.
A1 increases her soul drain damage by 5%. So her soul drain is this bounce that comes off her attack. So her basic attack. And it goes from increases the damage from 9% to 14%. It doesn't sound like a lot, but the enemy's taking defense reduction from each bounce, and it
Reduction.
goes on. So defense reduction from each bounce. So they're getting weakened. They're getting more hits coming in on them. It just eats away at the enemies. It's like a corrosive acid sprayed out across the enemies, and it just eats them down to nothing.
Yeah, I can't argue against that one either. So, yeah, and Hats, it's a very difficult hero to summon. So yeah, again, this is all account dependent.
Yeah. I think her later awakenings are nice, but I think the one which makes the real difference is A1.
A1. Yep, agreed.
One I do have on here as well is Captain Reeve A1. Now, one of the reasons I
Yeah,
like
I
this,
consider that too. Yeah.
so Captain Reeve A1, he gains an extra passive skill, and it's kind of like tucked away. And I was like, oh, every 4 attacks landed, the next 4 does 150%. It makes it sound like really this is a small thing. It's got a whole new attack animation. This is like something. If a hero has an extra attack animation added as a result of an awakening, it's a pretty effective awakening. Basically, he gets this big blast damage that comes from like 2 tiles in front to 2 tiles behind of this effect where he's doing this strike of 150% AoE damage and inflicting stun. And when you're into the Immortal Codex, where you've got all of those enemies coming with the Hellfire Emperor, you've got all of those enemies coming in. If you can get this skill going, he's able to control quite a large space with his stuns, so other units can hold them up and they'll just corrode themselves to death, and that all of that health is then spread around the heroes in that area as well. So it's really, really good, really, really effective. And again, he's
Yep.
really, really limited to get hold of. I would say that there are some limited heroes, ancient heroes definitely ones who are going to be a favorite for this. But yeah, that was my list really.
Okay, sounds that would be my yeah, I wouldn't. I don't have anything against that. I just thought that I would bring heroes that I think people that people could use to advance their accounts,
Mhm.
or if for some reason they had it laying around. But I think that that's a
Yeah.
good mix between the two of us of heroes that deserve the consideration. We have to find out what the rates are first, right? How many are we going to get throughout 6 months of play?
So far I've got
So
zero.
yeah, so yeah, probably the rates are going to be low, so we have to wait to see how. But now this also now changes the legendary ones. So I can briefly go to my list here in terms of who now are going to be specifically reserved that soulstone for now, especially if I have him in my account. Let's start with Cyrus. Cyrus A1, that extra skeleton or the skeleton warrior, he's a menace enough. So if you want to use him in GvG, you can. You want to use him for any content, like you just mentioned, the Conqueror. That would be another piece of content there because this thing is just going to slow things down as well. Provide the extra block, give time for everybody behind him to get rid
Yeah.
of anything that does slip by. So that's my one of the where I would put that legendary soulstone if I don't have any of the other four heroes that I'm going to mention here
Yeah.
in now reserving it.
Yeah, that skeleton warrior and the chance that the enemy is the war. So you start with one warrior, and this is the slightly more
And the,
tanky of the two things that he can summon, and then
the right,
you the default is you summon the fighters, which are a little bit more squishy. So basically, this is adding in the chance to summon the tanky one again. Still, it's a low chance, but it's better than nothing. And at the end of the day, that can be enough to completely screw up someone's GvG attack. So definitely a great one to have. It was on my list
okay, and then
as one.
I always suggest to people to save one just in case because you never know it might happen. A1 for Sulcadence and or if you need him for progression and you have him in your account, Twinfin.
Yeah. I think these are both great choices. Obviously, these heroes both get the vulnerability and the physical vulnerability and magic vulnerability at A1. And I think they've got slightly different use cases at the end of the day. But I
Yep.
think they're both good in their own right. But yeah, great choices there because I definitely consider having both of those, and especially for Solkadens, working your way down these awakenings, where he's getting extra burning, does more damage. So you're able to build up towards. You generally have a lot of burning on the team, and then you can do crazy stuff like throwing in a 9. She's doing her ultimate. She's extending the amount of burning. And then he gets even more crazy at the top level where he's extending the duration of all burnings on the target for 1 second. So yeah, he's just fantastic if you can start getting those awakenings rolling.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, Twinfin is the more accessible one. But if you're lucky enough to get Sulcadence first, that's the one that I would throw the stone. If you only have one on, he would advance your progression so much faster,
Yeah,
especially with the guild bosses. And then the other three options here that I have is Ingrid going from A2 to A3. I mean,
yeah,
what else is there to debate? You're getting extra damage. The Overlord is going to trigger more often. She just becomes much more powerful and much more tedious to deal with.
yeah. The overloads are obviously the big blasts, and the fact that you're going down from requiring 5 stacks to requiring 1 stack, sorry, 4 attacks to 1 attack is just bam. It's amazing. It's really really powerful.
And the last two that I have is Pretius. I'm not gonna so Pretius either going from A0 to A1 because with the A1 you're gonna get extra rage, and then if you can push him to A3, even better.
Yeah, the later two awakenings for Proteus are very much more boss focused. So because it's designed to be hitting the same target again and again and again. Uh, and Light of Judgment is really it's great. It increases your damage by 15%, so it's designed for a longer match. And the Fifth Awakening is when you've used the strike on a target for 15 times, then it receives extra bonus damage based on his attack. So that's one of the reasons that people load up Kratos with attack and might not necessarily focus on the crits so much, because he's getting all of this extra damage, true damage, through his kit.
It's the true damage. Yeah, that's exactly what you're building him for. Yeah, but I mean, if I had the extra one, and I want to make sure that I push the content, especially with him, A1 for sure. I would not question it, especially if maybe you have an extra one and you haven't had a chance to summon Sulcadins and Twinfin, and then if you can push him to A3, even better.
Yeah.
It's just that divine becomes much more powerful.
Yeah, the only hero who you've not mentioned that I would really love to have as an A5 is Toreador A5, just because you get to respawn that extra time, just to cause that extra amount of chaos in a defensive team. I think it's a fun one to have.
Yeah, this one, I guess it all depends on how lucky or unlucky you are on your summons, I guess. And then if you really wanted to push him to that last one, especially if you're GvG centric. Yeah, I can see that. But it's just you can get them both from the rares and the
Yeah,
ancients, right? So, like, if you're swimming in the soulstones, I would not argue against this one.
no, that's kind of like, it's a more fun one just for the chaos that it can ensue. But there's definitely
Yep.
some other great ones and some other good mentions out there. There's obviously a Dahlia is another one who gets extended range in her awakenings somewhere. No, maybe I've misunderstood. No, I've misremembered that.
No, no, I don't think it's. I think is for Dahlia's the poison gets a little bit more damage out of her. I think it was,
Yeah, Curse
and
Blossom. Yeah, and
in the
25%
limited
extra
heroes,
damage.
the limited heroes, especially if you are relying on them. Let's say you want to push for some reason you are desperate. You need to push AMR 20, 22. I wouldn't blame you if you go A1, A3 on her just to get a little bit extra damage, and you want that. Uh, yeah, the limited always are going to get some consideration because you never know how often those banners come up, and whether you're going to have the resources to get that extra copy that you need if you do have them.
Yeah. So we did actually ask our Discord community what they thought were the heroes who they would be worth investing in the Soulstone. So let's just jump over to Discord and see what they said. Okay, so here we are on our Discord. So this is the Dragon Slayers community. The thread name is Wars Going On. And here is some of the suggestions which we had from the community with regards to which heroes they thought were worthy of Soulstones. So obviously we've got Ingrid, Praetus, and Valderon being mentioned a lot. Uh, we also had a shout out for Yimmerit, obviously exceedingly rare to get hold of, being in the Lord pool of the ancient summons, so like the hardest group to get hold of.
A1
Uh,
Emirate, if you want to be GBG focused, I would say that's where it probably comes into play.
yeah,
But you have to have a strong preference for GBG PvP stuff if that's where you want to invest that soulstone on Emirate.
and I think he as well. If you've got Anora and the fact that he's got his egg, is makes him really really effective in that, because the fact you've got a reviving hero in this content is always going to be good.
Now, based on what I'm seeing here, the Ingrid Proteus, he did not really discriminate which awakening. He just thought they're
Yeah.
worth whatever awakening you're going for. A3 Valderan, yeah, if you can get enough copies of him, yeah, sure, you can push that. What else came up?
Uh, non-lords. Silas and Hex were mentioned. Nyx A3, Beelzebub A3.
You know what? Yeah, yes, Beelzebub could come into play. Yeah, because you're gonna get more rage out of him. I don't. I'm not gonna disagree with the Beelzebub. It all depends on how you're using him, though.
Yeah, I've not really. Obviously, I don't have him, and I've not had a chance to catch up on all the videos about him. But he's definitely got a unique range because he's got an extended version of the Vienna range. So it's a square range, but it's a long version. And obviously, he's doing damage, applying weakness to enemies, and he's doing inspiration. So he's got a lot going on in his kit. And A3, I think his extra rage to get to so he can cycle faster.
All right.
Yeah,
And Ugo, yeah, wrote us a novel, but he did have different perspectives. He said GvG centric. Here are the ones to consider. Here are other
yeah,
ones that you may want to come if you're PvP focused. I think that he um, gave a shout out to Iovar, a lot
yeah.
of it because of his PP, and he thinks the piercers are going to do well in this new tower map. We'll consider to keep testing that. I disagreed with him to that in terms of the peer investing that Soulstone into a piercer like him and Aracha, but I can see where he's coming from, especially if you are GBG centric.
Unfortunately, the Discord has done its thing where it doesn't like me being in a browser at the same time as you're on screen. So I lost your picture for those last few moments, but you're still here with us. Um, yeah, so that's really it. I mean, basically, there's lots of good heroes out there. A lot of them are going to be dependent on your account and where you are in the game. Uh, but
Post it in the
it's
comments. Let us know what you think. And I would just say, like, your account better than we do when we make these recommendations. So let's say in your comment list, okay, if I had the an unpolished soulstone, here's who I would invest it in and why. Kind of give us that example, but we just kind of give you a general sense of where we would be looking based on our accounts if we had that hero and at what stage they were in terms of their awakening.
Yeah, that's it. Do remember to like and subscribe. The channel is still growing. I'm on about 150 subs at the moment, and it's been going up slowly since we've been doing these, and I'd like to see it grow even more. Uh, and hopefully, leave a comment down below, share it with everyone you know, help us grow. We'll get more interesting collaborators coming on, and we'll do more interesting content.
That sounds like a plan. And if we get him to 500, I might throw something special to give away. All right, but we got to see that before. Uh, let's say let's try it before Thanksgiving in America. I want to see him at 500, and then
So,
we'll push to 1,000. Okay.
end of November. That's your timeline, guys.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Come on, help Arcturus out. We want this podcast to really pick up. All right, thank you all very much for tuning in and watching. We will see you all next week.
Goodbye.